This video tutorial is a follow-up to creating bar graphs using Quartz Composer and VDMX. In the first tutorial, we made a Quartz Composer patch that rendered a bar graph, and if you followed along with that, you maybe made your own. If not, maybe you downloaded ours. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a new project and load in our bar graph, trigger it onto a layer, open up the layer source controls into its own window, and I can resize this window to anything I want. And now, the first thing I'm going to do is that every project starts with a clock. So I'm going to quickly sync that to some of these sliders so that they're driven along with the measure position. And I'll make this one go with 2 bars, and I'll make this one go with 4 bars, and then this last one, we'll set that to 8 bars. And, well, this is a bar graph title, but yeah, we'll call this a visualization of 120 BPM, and we can call this 1 bar, 2 bar, 4 bar, and 8 bar. Cool. And I can use this local preset item at the top, and I can click on the plus button to save it as a new preset. And now, what I'll do is I'll go over to the plugin section of the Workspace Inspector and add an LFO. And the LFO plugin, you can right-click on it and add a new sine wave, add a new cosine, and I'm going to now add another sine wave. But for this last sine wave, I'm going to use, if you command-click on it, you can adjust the frequency and the amplitude. So I'll make another sine wave that looks something like that. And let's try deleting this wave there because we don't need it. But we can now create an next one. We'll just use that for noise. And I'll go ahead and reassign these sliders here. So we'll make it our sine wave. We'll make this one our sine wave 2. We'll make this one our cosine, and the final one we'll make our random. And I can go ahead and relabel these, so I can call this sine, sine 2, cosine, and noise. And I can retitle this, I'll rename it some LFOs, and I'll save that as another preset. And next, let's go ahead and I'll try the same thing, but I'll use an audio analysis plugin this time, move our LFO out of the way. And the audio analysis, you can turn it on. You can use multiple audio analysis plugins and have each one running off of a different device, and you can even set which channel each one is listening to. So the next thing I'm going to do is just add a filter and do auto space filters because we've got 4 of them. And now I'm just going to right click here and I'll assign those, audio analysis filter. Oh, and you're right, I have to talk in order for you to see them, so I'll just keep sort of rambling about nothing. And okay, now we've got our values there, and I'll rename them. So we've got low, low mid, mid low, and high. Okay, and now I'll save that as another preset there. And for the final one of these presets that I'm going to do really quickly, I'm just going to turn on the hardware learn mode. So that's Command L, and I'll click on the first one and move a MIDI slider on my controller. And now I'm going to click on this next MIDI slider and another MIDI slider, and you can see in my UI inspector where I've got my MIDI controls appearing. And now I'll reset this last one, and Command L will turn off my hardware learn mode, and I can now adjust these with MIDI values. And I'll call these some MIDI sliders. And what I just did would also work with OSC or DMX, and I'll call this maybe CTL1 and CTL2, CTL3, and CTL4. And now we've got a nice little visualization of some MIDI sliders. And now I can hit and I can now jump back and restore any of these presets that I have. So MIDI sliders, some LFOs, and now I've got my audio analysis, or rather, here's some LFOs, and here's 120 BPM, and here's the audio analysis. Oh, I forgot to rename the audio analysis, so you know what? This is a good thing. I'll rename the audio analysis, so this one's called audio analysis, and I'll click on this, and it's the third one, so I'll click on 3, update selected preset, and now 1, 2, 3, and 4, and my MIDI sliders. Very cool. Okay, so now I'll maybe leave that running on my on there. So for the next thing I'm going to do, I'll quickly go over. I hard-coded in these colors, but say that we wanted to change them, I can quickly just go in and add a hue adjust in the effects, and there we go. I can adjust the hue a little bit. And next, I'm going to grab another copy of this bar graphs, and I'll just drag it in, and I'll add a second layer, switch the media bin to trigger onto the second layer, and trigger it. And right now they're overlapping, so the thing I'm going to want to do next is change the render size of the graph on the left so that instead of it being 1920 wide, we're going to want to divide that in two. So we can do 1920 divided by 2, 960, if you don't want to do the math in your head. And we're going to go into layer composition and switch from the position mode of on-screen to on-screen, and that way we can dock it to the side perfectly. And now we'll go to the layer 2, pop open its source controls into its own window, and we can drag that in so it's tabbed with this other window. And we'll make this also 960, and we'll do the same thing, but we'll drag it to the other side. And now we've got two bar graphs. But since we have a hue shift on this one, they are different colors. And of course we can do any of the things we did with the previous one on here and reassign them. So that's three quick things you can do with bar graphs in VDMX. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial.